Welcome back to Opening Statements. I'm Julie Grant. This morning, we are spotlighting the latest developments with the Adelson family. This week, we learned that Charlie Adelson was transferred to a prison in South Dakota. The former periodontist is serving a life sentence for coordinating the murder of his former brother-in-law, beloved law professor and father, Dan Markel.
She's like, my friend killed Dan, and he wants to be paid $250,000.
What happened next?
I stood up, and I started cursing, and I'm like, are you kidding me? And she's like, no. I'm like, who did this? Who's your friend that did this? And she's like, I don't want to say, I can't say. She started telling me, like, I'm so sorry, this is all my fault, but I didn't know any of this was going to happen. And I'm like, Katie, I'm not going to be part of it. I'm not going to be part of paying for a murder. This is insane. And she's like, look, if you don't pay in 48 hours, they will kill you. I said, Katie, I feel like I'm getting extorted now.
So was Charlie moved due to retaliation and possibly threats from the Latin Kings? Here to talk about it, we've got some experts and friend of the show, Joel Waldman and his beautiful mother, Karm Waldman. They're podcast hosts and also brand new authors of this book, Surviving the Survivor. They're on their book tour right now. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. But first, let's talk about the Adelsons. Joel and Karm, good morning to you both. Let's start with Charlie's move to South Dakota, if we can. Do we know why?
Yeah, Julie, good morning. Great to be with you, coming to you from Philadelphia, where it is always sunny, including today. And the short answer is, you know, he had a really risky defense with Daniel Rashbaum. He essentially said, for those who are not familiar with the case, that he was extorted by the infamous Latin Kings gang, and there's a honor code among the gang, and the consensus is that never happened. So they basically, their defense was to throw this notorious gang under the bus, and there are ramifications for that. And once Charlie was convicted and went to state prison, according to my sources and all the reporting out there, he was green-lighted, which in prison parlance means they put a hit out on him, that he would be killed inside the prison. And this became an untenuous situation. He had been moved 3 different times within the state of Florida, and he was just convicted, by the way, this past November, so it's a lot of movement. And ultimately they said, hey, we've got to get this guy out of here for his own safety, and they sent him far away to South Dakota, and that's where he's sitting in a state prison right now.
Joel, we knew you would know. Thank you for that. We're going to keep an eye there on South Dakota, see if he gets moved again. But thank you for that. And in the meantime, you and your beautiful mother, Dr. Karm, it is such a delight to have you joining Joel. Every time he comes on, I'm saying, bring your mom, bring your mom. You're also a psychology expert. No, you're very welcome. And, you know, in addition to being a loving mother, you've practiced in psychology for a long time. And you had dinner recently with Ruth and Phil Markel, Danny Markel's parents. I know you can certainly relate with so much compassion in what they've gone through. Would you kind of talk to us about their state of mind and what they're going through and the trauma that they've been through as we look ahead to Donna's trial now?
Correct. We were doing the book tour in Toronto, and they were kind enough to come to our book signing. And afterwards, we went and we had a talk. Frankly, I came away feeling very sad after I talked to her, and also Phil. And my feeling is they're really feeling the burden of all this, and they are very much eagerly awaiting the trial of Donna, and they are not getting younger like yours truly, and so they are hoping that everything will be resolved before a long time. And I sense they loss, and they speak about their loss and how much they miss, especially the grandchildren. As you know, they cannot communicate because of Wendy's decision. They have very limited communication with their grandchildren.
Oh, and that is so sad, Dr. Karm. It's so sad. And we know you've practiced marriage therapy for 40 years, and we know this all stemmed from this nasty custody battle going on with Wendi and Danny Markel, and Danny was winning legally. Joel, I'd like to go to you on this question, please. So many people, as you know, so many of your listeners on your podcast, our wonderful Court TV viewers, many of them are the same people, are counting down the days and wondering, when are we going to see Wendi arrested, or aren't we? Your thoughts on that, please, Joel.
So I've asked just about everyone who's closely connected to this, and the overwhelming consensus is everyone thinks she's in on it. In fact, almost everybody thinks she helped manipulate this entire situation, but she was also is a lawyer and was also incredibly smart in kind of covering her tracks. And it is believed that she would be the hardest, you see her taking the stand there in the video, but she would be the hardest to prosecute. Nevertheless, Georgia Kappelman, who's the lead prosecutor in this case, has a distinct animus for Wendi Adelson. She is not a fan of Wendi Adelson. And, you know, whether you like somebody or not should never play into a prosecution necessarily, but we all know that there's kind of a competitive edge and competitive factor. And, you know, the belief is split 50-50 really about whether she will be prosecuted. But from a you know, sort of a revenge standpoint, in order to pay for this crime, people want to see her tried for this case. And in my gut, I feel like she will be the next domino to maybe not fall, but definitely be attacked by the prosecution. It's just going to be a matter of time. They've been very systematic here and going after, you know, the hitmen first, the middle woman in this case, and then ultimately Charlie Adelson, and next, of course, Don in the fall. But I think we do see Wendi Adelson prosecuted here.
Joel, I'm with you. And Dr. Karm, harkening back to Wendi's testimony, I just remember thinking to myself, pants on fire. To me, there were just so many things she said that were so unbelievable, just happening to drive by the house that morning of the homicide. Just so many things didn't ring true to me. Curious, looking at this case through the lens, you know, of your practice for many years, what did you think of Wendi's testimony?
Well, I think her dynamics, her brother, quote, did this setup and this murder for her, and yet she sort of accused her brother by mentioning the television story where she said, my brother was looking for a hitman, but then it was cheaper. It cost too much money. It was cheaper to get me a TV set, which is harrowing to think that she would even mention her brother as a possible suspect. And since then, she's exhibited unbelievable cruelty, because she refused, I'm speaking as a grandmother, she refuses to let the grandparents see the grandchildren.
And that's just horrific. The Markels are the sweetest people. It's just, that seems like the big crime to me. I mean, we know Charlie Adelson committed horrible crimes, but the fact that these wonderful grandparents can't love their grandchildren and be with them is just, it's stomach turning. I've got a clip from Donna's arrest. And here you see Harvey on the body camera footage telling police they're making a big mistake. Let's watch.
You're making a mistake. You got anything, guys? No mistake. It's two mistakes. Can you take it off, please, Donna? I don't want to hurt her. Please.
Just a minute. Just a minute.
Please.
It's getting there. Listen to me.
Yeah. I'll call.
Yeah, can you Uber? Go home.
I will.
Okay, Joel, another $1 million question. Do you think Harvey's in the clear?
It's funny, that question maybe should have been posed to Carmela, but I will take it. Maybe let her weigh in. From day one, you know, my dad sadly recently passed away, but he was kind of a...
sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, my deepest sympathies to you both.
Thank you. They were married 63 years, and it's in my book, Surviving the Survivor. But, you know, from day one, my mother has said that that she believes Harvey is complicit in this, and I bring it up because the similar dynamic in terms of the relationship. My mother is very outspoken. My dad was very soft-spoken. Donna is this, brutal force of nature, and Harvey's always in the background. But Carmela is convinced that, he was pulling strings at the very least financially. He happens to have the least evidence, at least overt evidence or circumstantial evidence pointing to him. He was smart, and at least in kind of staying in the background. The consensus from the people I talked to is that he will not be indicted or charged in this, but he has lost his son, who's in South Dakota. His wife is now in the Leon County Jail. And we're getting word that Wendy is headed to Texas, that she's out of here. She's going to Austin. Apparently she has some family down in Austin, Texas, but people who are slightly more cynical think that she is starting to prepare to maybe slip through the southern border. We know that Donna, right after Charlie's conviction, was caught trying to board a plane to Dubai to ultimately get to Vietnam, and that's where she was arrested.
Wow, you always have such great information, Joel. I want to thank you for that. And I want to give your mom, Dr. Karm, the final word here. Talk about your book tour, what this has been like for you, how it's going.
Well, I'm almost 85. In August, I'll be 85. And I survived the book tour because you are our last stop.
You've survived it all. You're incredible, Dr. Karm.
Yeah. One day it will have to come to an end, but this one I survived so far, and it has been amazing. The reception has been amazing. The people came out, our fans from our live podcast. They show up and they watch us and they listen to us, and it has been just totally lovely. We went to 4 different cities.
Yeah, it's like Tuesdays with Maury. It has an endorsement by Mitch album and has Karm story. Get it? It might change your life, this book.
Oh, I can't wait to read it. And I know that your dad, Joel, your husband, Karm, is smiling down from heaven with so much pride for what you two are doing. Our hearts go out to you. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Love seeing you. Hope to talk again soon. And be sure to check out their book, Surviving the Survivor. There it is. There's the cover. Joel and Dr. Karm, be sure to grab a copy.